On October 7, 2015, the Gerardo Cruz case in Costa Rica began with Samodi Fonsek, a woman marked by greed and vanity. Her tumultuous relationships led to a bitter breakup with Gerardo Cruz, a family man. Her escalating jealousy and threats ultimately culminated in Gerardo's tragic murder, ending a life that had unexpectedly gained national attention. Before we move forward, as a token of our appreciation for your support, we're giving away free ebooks. Check out the video description below for a treasure of knowledge waiting just for you. Now back to the video. Let's have a look at the case of Samodi Fonsek. Jealousy is a terrible and often damaging emotion that can make someone blind and drive them to commit crimes. A disaster happened in Costa Rica a few years ago because of envy. People will remember this case as the case of Gerardo Cruz. But let us talk about everything in the right order. Samodi came into the world in February 1975 in Costa Rica. Not much is known about her family. The girl grew up there with her mother, Sonia Fonsek. Samodi went to one of the local schools and showed right away that she was a tough and conflicted person. That was unacceptable to her, and she usually got what she wanted by forcing or lying. Locals say that Samodi's beautiful looks and perfect body made it easy for men to fall in love with her, but she could not keep them. Samodi was very pretty and knew how to make the most of her looks, but she put money and her own needs above all else because she was greedy and vain, which turned off cavaliers after a short relationship. In her younger years, she was also very angry and jealous. Because she looked like a doll, Samodi Fonsek worked for a few years as Barbie in one of the big shops owned by the Universal Company. At that point, the girl got a nickname that stuck with her for life and was very nice. Not long after Samodi graduated from high school, she had an affair with a famous reporter who worked on local TV. Her age difference with the man was 16 years. His name was Osvaldo Fernando Ballari. After all the other relationships she had, this was the longest and most important one. But the chosen one never made her an offer. They had a boy together named Christopher and a daughter named Christina. But Samodi and Ballari broke up with the young woman because she was always making stories and being jealous. In 2012, Osvaldo died quickly. It turned out that he did not include his ex-lover in his will. This young woman would not stand for it any longer, so she chose to do something about it. She went to the house of a dead lover and took it over, changing the locks so that the dead person's family and heirs could not get in. Samodi also took some valuable things that belonged to the person who died. The Ballari family was very angry and went to court right away to punish Samodi for stealing. The police told the young woman to leave the house, but they did not charge her with a crime. Besides Miguel Angel Perez, Samodi was in many other relationships. With him, she had her third child named Maria. Some reports say that this relationship was legal, but after a few years they got a divorce. Other reports say that Samodi was not married. She also gave her lover's last name to her youngest daughter without telling him or getting his permission. It is interesting that some Barbie fans have suddenly vanished or died under strange circumstances, but no one seemed to notice for a long time. Therefore, one of Samodi's friends disappeared, and family members say it happened soon after he broke up with a rude and angry woman. People are still looking for the man, and while many are sure that Samodi has something to do with the case, they were unable to find proof that she is guilty. Diaco, Samodi's other ex-lover, died in a terrible accident after they broke up. Police never found out who killed him, but it seemed like they were trying to rob someone but failed. Again, many people thought Samodi had something to do with the crime, but no solid proof was found against her. But Gerardo Cruz was her most well-known victim. For Cruz, Costa Rica is home. He was born in San Jose in December 1992. The boy did not know his own father because he had left the family before the boy was born. Soon after giving birth, his mother, Ana Patricia, married Hermes Rodriguez. Rodriguez took the baby in and raised him as his own. After a few years, Gerardo got a sister named Melina. For the guy, his childhood and teen years were a time of peace and freedom. His school was like any other. He liked motorcycles, and he met his real love, a girl named Carol, when he was young. When Gerardo was 23, he moved in with his girlfriend and their 4-year-old daughter, Genesis Cruz. They lived with his aunt and uncle in the suburb of San Sebastian. To make sure his family had everything they needed, the young father got a job at a nearby bakery. The couple was really happy, and soon they found out that they were going to have a second child. Gerardo met Samodi in the summer of 2015 when Samodi came to shop at the bakery where Gerardo worked. Even though she was 40 years old, the woman was still very beautiful. She liked to flirt and wear casual clothes. The fact that she started having affairs with men much younger than herself as she got older is interesting. It is likely that the attention of young lovers made her feel good. Even though they were almost 20 years apart in age, Cruz quickly fell in love with the beautiful woman while she was with her family and started meeting with her in secret. The other workers noticed that she started going to the bakery almost every day to see her young lover. Samodi also often showed up with her oldest daughter, Cristina. Gerardo was able to perfectly balance family life with secret meets with his mistress, so none of his wives knew that she was there. But Gerardo quickly became less cautious. Of course, he wanted to brag about how well he did with women, so he started telling his friends and coworkers about Samodi and how she was a great lover who gave him lots of gifts. The news quickly got to his mother, who tried to talk sense into her son and get him to leave his lover. A few months into the relationship, Samodi learned that the lover was pregnant and had a young daughter. They broke up in October of that same year. The woman was very angry. She began to text and call Carol, calling her names and threatening to kill Gerardo if he did not belong to her alone. Gerardo was able to ask his wife to forgive him and keep the family together. When it came to the ex-lover, he did not take her threats seriously because he thought she would quickly calm down and find a new boyfriend. Samodi would turn out to be so sneaky and mean that he forgot about it. A mere few days after breaking up with Samodi, Cruz happened upon a very public event. The young man was going down a street in downtown when he saw an older man following a young girl while holding his phone so that the camera was under her miniskirt. The guy was very angry. He also pulled out his phone and started filming what was going on. He then stopped the girl, told her what was going on, and told her to call the police. Cruz then went after the man and tried to take a picture of his face. In a loud voice, he wondered for about 2 minutes if the man was having fun taking pictures of the girl's underwear without her knowing. The man then got into a taxi and drove off. That same night, Gerardo shared the video he had made on his website. In just one night, the video went viral, and users quickly figured out that the old man was Luis Solmano Delgado, a former official who worked for the Ministry of Finance. The media quickly picked up the video and spread it across the country, making Gerardo a national star. Newspapers and radio and TV shows asked the young man to be on their shows almost every day. He talked about what he had seen, said that the former official had done something wrong, and said that he had no regrets and would do it again. Aside from that, skilled lawyers hired by Solmano Delgado started to work against Gerardo, charging him of doing something wrong. They said that sharing the guy's videotape with other people was against the law and were getting ready to sue him in court. These events caught Cruz by surprise, and he did not understand why they could judge him but not the guy who did such a horrible thing to a girl. On October 7th, Gerardo did his last interview on the air of a neighborhood radio station. He was sure he was right and did not think he had anything to worry about. Gerardo had planned to meet up with his friend Oswald after work the next day, but he suddenly called off the meeting, saying he had to take care of something important. After some time, he learned that Samodi had sent him a message that day in which the young woman tricked him into going to the park in the evening for another interview. Gerardo did not think anything was wrong. He just believed his ex-lover. When his shift was over, he went to the agreed-upon location, but there were no reporters waiting for him. Instead, 2 unknown men grabbed his bag, beat him, and stabbed him several times in the chest and stomach before running away. Before he passed out, the hurt man was able to call his friend and tell them what happened. His friend then called the police and ambulance services right away. He quickly got Gerardo to the hospital, where doctors fought for 42 days to save his life. The doctors tried dozens of treatments on Gerardo during this time, but they were all unsuccessful in saving him. On 19th November, Cruz passed away in the ICU. Not long before the tragedy, he became a real celebrity, and the whole country was talking about his situation. Gerardo's family asked everyone to pray for his recovery. That is why they did not know who or why could hurt Gerardo in that way. The guy's funeral had a lot of people who wanted to show their sympathy for his family. In addition, everyone said they hoped the police would quickly find the killers and punish them fairly. At first, there were different stories about what happened. The first was a murder-attempted theft. It is true that Gerardo was robbed in the park at night. His bag was stolen, and he was stabbed with a knife to make it look like he was a normal thief. But just a few days before, Cruz put out a shocking tape that implicated a well-known former official. That is why the second idea is that it was an act of payback. The media wrote and said that Solano Delgado might have hired hitmen to get rid of the young man who was bad for his image. The murder got a lot of attention in the news, and people took to the streets to demand that the killers be caught and put in jail. The police started to come up with different versions of what happened and think about them. They also started to look for other people who might be Gerardo's enemies or haters. There was no progress in the case for a few months until May 2016, when a video from a street camera was found. Two guys can be seen running away from the place where Cruz was shot and killed. These men were right away thought to be responsible, but it was up to the police to figure out who they were and find them. The tape was an important piece of evidence, and the case moved forward after it was made public. Television news shows played it over and over, warning viewers to pay close attention because the people in it could be dangerous crooks. The police could also make rough sketches of the guys they were looking for and talk about their anthropometric data. Soon, one of the men's identities was known because he chose to turn himself in to the police and help with the investigation in the hopes that it would help him get a lighter term. Because he gave them information, the police were able to quickly find several other accomplices as well as Samodi and her daughter who planned the crime. Soon, everyone who took part in the crime was arrested. Besides the mother and daughter, 3 other men were arrested: a taxi driver named Ronald Archie, who found the murderers, a worker named Cesar Chavez, who worked as a go-between, and a young miner who took part in the attack directly. Also later caught was Omar Costa, who had been following the victim and telling police where he was on the day of the attack. Phone calls and text messages were used to figure out what each person's role was and how they were connected to the crime. Samodi ordered the murder and had taken great care to plan the whole thing, even including her daughter Cristina in the specifics. They asked Ronald and Cesar, 2 friends, to help them find 2 hitmen to kill Gerardo and make it look like a break-in gone wrong in a park at night. Later, Omar joined them. It was his job to make sure the target went to the place they agreed to meet. The massacre took place on October 7th. That day, she called all the people involved in the crime several times, gave those jobs, and made sure everyone stuck to the plan. Also, the young woman asked him to bring her something from the ex-lover's things as proof after he had done the crime. Cruz went straight to the park after his shift was over. He was certain that he had an interview, so he made every effort to arrive on time. However, when he reached the agreed-upon location, he was suddenly attacked and stabbed multiple times. The assailants then seized his bag and jacket, later presenting them as evidence to someone else. The key evidence that proved Samodi's guilt was the text messages that meticulously detailed the murder plan and the roles of everyone involved. The woman was so confident that she could escape justice that she didn't even delete those incriminating messages. The primary motive behind this heinous act was anger. The woman couldn't accept her boyfriend being with his wife, so she decided that no one else should have him if not her. She meticulously planned the crime and even involved her daughter in it. The authorities swiftly took both the mother and daughter into custody, denying them bail due to the risk of flight. Except for Omar, who had been tasked with surveillance, all of their accomplices ended up in pretrial detention. Specialized youth delinquency authorities took custody of the youngest person involved in the crime. The investigation lasted approximately a year and a half, and the trial of everyone implicated in the crime scheme didn't commence until December 2017. It was also revealed that Samodi had previous charges, particularly related to forgery, which resulted in her serving time and receiving fines. The story of Miguel Angel Perez also emerged. He was the father of Samodi's youngest child, and it came to light that she had given the child the last name of a past lover without his consent. She subsequently used the legal system to obtain alimony payments from him for over 3 years. When the deception was exposed, She received a 3-year jail sentence and a substantial fine. However, the court acknowledged her young child and modified her sentence to 5 years of parole. In court, the murder victim's wife, Gerardo, disclosed that she was aware of her husband's affair with Samodi and that she had threatened to kill him. However, she hadn't taken these threats seriously. As previously mentioned, the primary motive for the crime was the woman's anger and pride, stemming from her inability to accept that her younger boyfriend wished to remain with his wife. Call logs demonstrated that the mother and daughter had planned the crime together. It was also revealed that Christine had a nervous breakdown after the CCTV footage of the killers became public. She was on the verge of confessing to the police when she tearfully called her mother. Her mother attempted to reassure her, assuring her that the investigation would never trace back to them. The verdict didn't come until January 23, 2018. The court's decision mandated a 30-year prison sentence for Samodi. Ronald, Teaser, her daughter, and her sister all received 25-year sentences. At that time, the second killer remained unidentified, while the first one was sent to a youth detention center. This wasn't the case for Omar, who had been monitoring the victim. As a form of apology, the victim's family received $140,000 in compensation. Following the court's decision, Gerardo's family expressed their gratitude for the fair punishment meted out to the culprits. However, it quickly became known that Samodi and Christina's lawyers had appealed to have their sentences reduced. A new hearing was held in November 2019. When the first killer's identity was disclosed, Ronald revealed that the second killer had also participated in the killings, but was unaware of the plan's details. Ronald and Caesar also sought to have their sentences shortened through the appeals court. As a result, each individual involved in the crime had 5 years shaved off their sentences. Samodi is currently serving her 25-year term in one of Costa Rica's women's prisons. She married a fellow inmate she met while incarcerated, which became public knowledge in the summer of 2020. She adopted the name Lindsay Diaz-Lopez. By the time her relationship was officially registered, she had already been released from prison and was living with someone else. With this, Samodi will spend nearly 20 years in prison. In 2019, a heart-wrenching tragedy unfolded involving Jassy, Correia, who vanished while celebrating her 23rd birthday at a Boston club. Her case made national headlines, capturing the attention of American TV channels. Jassy was a resilient mother, overcoming adversity, including a past abusive relationship. She left her daughter in her family's care, donned an orange dress, and set off for a night of celebration, but she never returned. What followed was a harrowing journey, involving an unidentified man, Lewis Coleman, who would become a central figure in a chilling mystery that shook the nation. Jassy Correia was born in Praia. When she was 3 years old, her father immigrated to the United States with her. They settled in Dorchester, Massachusetts, and it became her home, where she grew up, attended school, and later became a loving mother to her daughter Gabriella. Jassy's personal life was not a fairy tale. Gabriella's father, Miguel Castro, attacked her. She wanted to leave him, but Miguel refused to let her go and abused her physically. Jassy eventually went to the police, and the court sentenced Miguel to 4 years in prison. Jassy worked as a waitress at the Boston Del Frisco kitchen. She was really into dancing and taking pictures. It was important to the young woman to spend time with her family, friends, and daughter. She liked taking her little daughter to the park. Jassy left her 2-year-old daughter with her family on the evening of February 23, 2019, because she was going to a birthday party with friends. They decided to go to a club located on Warrington Street in Boston's Theater District. She had a good night after putting on her new orange dress. A few days later, her friend told the police that she and Jassy had danced and drank champagne all night after the club closed. Jassy went outside with 2 friends. As usual, the friends went their separate ways. After that night, she did not come home. She did not have her phone on, so all calls went to caller ID. After the event, no one has seen her. When Correia, her father, went to the police station with a friend of Jassy on February 26th to report that his daughter had gone missing, the police began to look into it. First, the police needed to figure out where Jassy went after she left the club. Her family and friends placed flyers around the city and gave them to people hoping to get useful information. Detectives talked to the friends of Jassy who were with her that night. This did not really help the case because they did not know where she went after leaving the club. They said goodbye, and Jassy made plans to go home. The police talked to people who saw what happened and looked at CCTV footage from the club and the streets near it. Jassy spoke to some people on the sidewalk on Tremont Street near the nightclub at 2:14 a.m. after leaving the club. There's also footage showing Jassy appearing drunk, getting into an Uber that she hadn't requested. It's evident that she mistakenly entered the wrong car, which angered the driver. They got into an argument, and he forcefully removed her from the vehicle. Investigators were especially interested in what happened next. Even after the driver pushed her out of the car, she kept arguing with him. At that moment, an unknown man came up to her and asked her to hold his hand. He walked over to her and began talking to her about something. He would not let go of her hands, so she may have wanted to leave. More study of the CCTV video showed that this man and Jassy left the area together. If you know how this story ends, you will see that she fell into the hands of a criminal who chose to take advantage of the situation. Jassy jumped on the man's back and he carried her to his car. After 14 minutes, the police had to answer a lot of questions. Who was this guy? What did he do with Jassy? They were lucky that they quickly learned his name and location. Lewis Coleman was a man with Jassy. Some sources say he had a master's degree in physics and had never been in trouble with the law. He grew up in a good home. In the police computer, there was no record of Coleman having any kind of car. Coleman did place Jassy in Coleman's mother's red 2016 Buick. Coleman lived in Providence, Rhode Island, which is about 50 miles away from the venue club. When the police got to his house, the man was not there. CCTV cameras inside and outside the building proved what the police and Jassy's family thought was most likely to happen. Coleman's apartment in Providence is about an hour's drive from the venue club. He must have stopped somewhere along the way because he got back to his apartment on Sunday at 4:15 a.m., about 2 hours after putting Jassy in his car. Coleman sent an email to his coworkers the next day. He said he was going to be away for a few more days. From what he wrote, it sounds like he needed time to hide the crime. The CCTV video showed Coleman and Jassy going to Coleman's apartment. FBI Special Agent Thomas Dukas described what he had seen on recording. He stated that Coleman had walked from the red sedan toward the front of the building while carrying a body with long hair and orange pants. Zukas believed that the footage showed Coleman carrying the victim into his apartment building. He also mentioned that the video from the lobby of the building indicated that Coleman had entered the building with a woman in his arms at 4:27 a.m. After that, he had taken the elevator to the 6th floor. At that time, Jassy was not moving. She was either not awake or already deceased. Jassy's father told the police that she had gone missing on Tuesday, February 26th. On the same day, Coleman was caught on camera in Walmart. The items he bought were a mask, surgical gloves, 2 sets of safety goggles, a respirator, duct tape, 2 candles, and electrical tape. The next day, on February 27th, Coleman went back to Walmart while family and friends passed out informational flyers with Jassy's picture on them. At 9:22 p.m., the video shows him pushing a cart that again has some very familiar things in it. He purchased a large bag and a container at approximately 9:58 p.m. on February 27, 2019. Video showed Coleman walking into the apartment building with a brand new big bag. Next, the video showed that Coleman rolled his bag out of his apartment on February 28, 2019 at 2:15 a.m. Around 2:44 a.m., Coleman seemed to be having trouble lifting the bag into the trunk of his car. People say Coleman left the building more than once with trash bags, cardboard boxes, bleach, a computer tower, a black laptop case, and a small sports bag. Andrew Lilling, the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, told reporters that police had searched Coleman's apartment and found 2 packages. Also, they looked at a sofa with 4 big pillows. One of them was missing its cover. They found white trash bags, a bag with plastic sheets, men's bleach-stained jeans and a belt, a white nylon hooded coverall, an empty box of baking soda, clear safety goggles, duct tape, packaging, rubbing alcohol, Walmart bags, used plastic gloves, an empty package from a car air freshener, 3 used packages of purifying charcoal, and a sponge in a dumpster outside the apartment complex. Officers pulled Coleman's car over near Wilmington, Delaware, in the afternoon of February 28, 2019. Patrol officers told Coleman to get out of the car and asked if anyone else was with him. The police discovered Jassy's body in the trunk of Coleman's car. She was wrapped in a sofa cushion cover, placed inside a black trash bag, and then put into a large suitcase that Coleman had brought into his apartment on February 27, 2019. When experts looked at the car, they saw 2 cracks in the window on the passenger side. Police thought the man might have attacked Jassy in his car. They put Coleman in jail and took him to a barracks for Delaware State Police. He had a big patch on the right side of his face. His claimed answer when asked about it was, "It is from the girl." After the forensic examination, the experts found that Jassy died from being strangled and hit in the head. They also found seminal fluid on her body, and DNA samples from it matched Coleman's. Still, the police could not say for sure where Jassy died. It could have been in the car or Coleman's flat. Family members were shocked when Jassy died. Someone from the Boston Police Department went to see her family and promised to get Jassy justice. Some people on social networks suggested that Jassy was out alone on the street at such a late hour. In response, Suffolk County District Attorney Rachel Rollins asserted that Jassy was not in the wrong place at the wrong time. She emphasized that Jassy had every right to be where she was, celebrating her birthday with friends. Rollins urged against debating whether one should walk home alone or how many people to call when leaving a club. Instead, she suggested the importance of reminding the men in our lives that violence against women is not solely a women's issue, but rather a societal concern. People from Jassy's family, friends, and the community came to St. Peter's Parish in Dorchester on March 9, 2019 to say goodbye. Some wore all white, while others wore shirts, sweatshirts, and buttons with Jassy's face and the phrase "Justice for Jassy" on them. The pastor, speaking on behalf of the family, friends, and the community, expressed their sadness and acknowledged Jassy's passing. They mentioned that while they might not understand it all, they trust in God and believe her death had a purpose. Mecca D. Andrade, who is Jassy's cousin and best friend, delivered the first eulogy and shared these feelings. She stated that she has faith in God with all her heart. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh also spoke during the service. He pledged to work towards making the world safer for women, emphasizing that young women should be able to enjoy their birthdays with friends and return home to their families without fear. Jassy's father expressed his gratitude to the large crowd of over 200 people in the church. He also thanked the city, various law enforcement agencies, and departments from 3 states for their dedicated efforts. Jassy's mother, who had not seen her daughter for 20 years and lived in Portugal, was also present. The parents were preparing to say their final goodbyes to their daughter. The church was full of people. Wen bid farewell to Jassy by saying, "Rest in paradise, my dear Jassy. Rest in peace, my dear child." As of November 2019, prosecutors decided not to seek Coleman's execution. During his trial, prosecutors showed a variety of evidence, such as a video showing Coleman dragging Jassy's body into his Providence apartment and his online search history in the days after she went missing. Coleman's lawyers have said that the prosecution's evidence did not really support the charge against him. Several motions filed by the prosecution and defense described in detail what happened the night of Jassy's disappearance. The sides had different narratives about what happened, but the documents revealed frightening details about the unfolding events and the circumstances that led to Jassy's death. Prosecutors proved that Coleman was at the same nightclub as Jassy and her friends. Inside the club, he was chatting with a woman he had just met. It wasn't Jassy. They talked, danced, and even exchanged phone numbers. They texted each other while at the club. The defense and the prosecution expressed 2 different points of view. Prosecutors said Jassy was not the aggressor and that Coleman took her life after tricking her into believing he would give her a ride to her friend's apartment. Coleman's defense team argued otherwise, saying that Jassy behaved aggressively after the Uber driver pushed her out of the car. At trial, defense attorneys tried to argue that Jassy started the fight with Coleman on her own initiative, and that the crime was a sudden altercation rather than a planned and executed stalking, kidnapping, and deprivation of life. Prosecutors said that the gist of the defendant's argument appears to be that the victim, who weighed 1119 at the time of the autopsy, assaulted the defendant, who weighed 200 pounds at the time he was booked. Coleman's lawyers tried to downplay their client's role in the crime after all. In addition to alcohol, the toxicological examination showed traces of several different types of prohibited substances in Jassy's body. In June 2022, Coleman was convicted on one count of kidnapping resulting in death. The defense team filed a new motion arguing that the evidence is insufficient to sustain a conviction. In October 2022, the court sentenced 36-year-old Lewis Coleman to life in prison without parole for kidnapping and taking the life of Jassy. The court also ordered him to pay her family about $60,000 in compensation. Jassy was a vibrant and beautiful 22-year-old woman and mother of a toddler daughter. Lewis Coleman, a total stranger to her, abducted her, raped her, and strangled her to death. The pain and suffering Lewis Coleman inflicted on Jassy that night and her loving family and so many others every single day since February 24, 2019, will never be relieved by this sentence. The United States Attorney, Joshua Levy, stated that due to his depravity and complete disregard for Miss Jassy's life, Lewis Coleman had forfeited his right to live freely in society. Levy emphasized that Lewis Coleman had not displayed any remorse for his actions, which included luring Jassy into his car, sexually assaulting her, and brutally killing her. Additionally, Lewis had not considered turning himself in. Instead, he had devised a disturbing plan to conceal the murder he had committed. Levy further noted that the life sentence imposed on Lewis Coleman was just. However, it remains uncertain where Lewis Coleman intended to go with Jassy's body or what he intended to do with it. What are your thoughts about this case? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.